All right, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here at Anarchapulco 2020. What I'm here for today is to share with you solutions that we all need in order to have a free and safe society. And those solutions are centered on how not to be violent. But the first thing I'm going to share with you is where I came up with this idea. How did it begin? I came from a background of extreme use of force through the military and other things that I was taught to believe in. And then I evolved to believe in what is true. And that is that in order to create peace, we need to first be peaceful. We need to focus on that. And the one story that I have that helps you understand that, which was my evolution, my personal evolution to see the truth, was a situation that took place in 1994, August 15th. A young lady was 14 years old. She was being attacked by a mob of people. I was told the day before this occurrence to not interfere in matters that took place on the city streets in Detroit. The law enforcement official that told me that was actually trying to be helpful. He thought, in order to keep me out of trouble, he thought I should not interfere in the suffering of others. And I agreed with him that I thought, police would respond, which is what he said, just call them, and they'll come by and they'll, protect as needed. And at the time, I worked in security in the buildings in the area. So I called the police repeatedly because this young lady was being attacked by a mob. Lots of other people were calling as well. So the idea was that they would come and they would protect the young lady and stop this occurrence from continuing. That did not happen. As a result, the mother came home from work. I explained to her what happened. I said, you know what, let's go to the police department. Let's go and seek solutions together from the state. They will provide us with protection, and you will see that we can have these people prosecuted for the horrible thing that happened to your daughter. Essentially what she did was she defended herself from a mob of people that were attacking her with bottles and with chemical bug spray. So she had a chemical burn on her face. She came in, she was covered like a mummy. When she got out of the hospital the next day, we took her and her mother to the police station. When we got to the police station, the police had a very interesting response. And I really thought, if this young lady is from the same place, the same city, Detroit, as the female sergeant, I thought there would be a very welcoming, open line of communication, and there would be a natural inclination to want to protect this young lady since they're both from, both the family and the police officer are both from the same city. It turns out I was very wrong. So as soon as I walked up to the front podium where the police officer was, a sergeant, she said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm here with a victim, with their mother. The young lady was attacked and we need assistance." She said, "Well, are you related to the victim?" I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not. I'm security for the building." She goes, "Back up." I said, "Okay." I said, "You know what, ma'am?" I said to the mother of the daughter and to the daughter, I said, "Everything's gonna be fine. If you go up there, the sergeant will help you." The sergeant was like, "What do you want?" And the mother looked at me with this sad look on her face, and she said, "The police are not going to help me." And she said that to me before we went there, and I remember thinking, that's not true, the police will help you. So when I took her there, my idea was that all we have to do is depend on someone else to provide us with the protection we all need. And I was wrong. The young lady started crying, the young lady and her mother both started crying, and from that day forward, I realized the importance that all of us play in our own safety. From that moment on, I never let anyone interfere in the protection of other people. And from that point forward, I never failed to protect. And it has nothing to do with money, it has everything to do with love of humanity. In order to protect people, we must love people. In order to be humane, we must look at all people as our family. So when you come across someone that may have mental illness, someone who may be exhibiting some type of adverse behavior, some type of aggressive behavior, if you look at that person as though they were an extension of your family, you will treat them in accordance with the way you'd want your family treated by someone else in the same situation. So there's no real imperative that we were all taught that is true that requires us to use violence against people who may have negative intentions. That's not an imperative. What is imperative is that we find a way to create a better outcome. And the reason why is because from violence creates more violence. So what I learned over those years, I'm now sharing. What I did was I realized that my training, starting from a very young age, I was 6 years old when I started shooting the M16A1. My mother was a military competitor in the 70s with the M16. And my father's a school teacher. So what I learned was that firearms were a great thing and a great part of life. And then I learned martial arts, and I thought, this is great. Martial arts are great. Learning the military ways of the Japanese, of the Koreans, of Chinese from different time periods, and then learning about jiu-jitsu later and akijutsu, learning all these different techniques and strategies and tactics for war. Because that's what martial arts is. It's the way of the military. And then I thought later, after I became an airborne paratrooper and a private investigator, I found out that there was laws. And I thought, why don't we have a school that teaches us how to defend ourselves, our families, using a knife, a gun, a pistol, a shotgun, a rifle, standing up, fighting on the ground? Why isn't there one school that could teach us all those things and teach us law so that we don't get in trouble or lose our money at the end of defending ourselves or our families? Because one thing I realized when I go to these different martial arts schools, these different military ways, is they all believe they're superior. The knife school says they're superior to the gun. The baton school or stick school says they're better than knives and guns. People that fight on the ground think they're better than people that stand up. The truth is, when you have to survive, you need all your skills, and you need skills from all the different areas to meet the needs of your condition and situation. And then what I did is took it a step further and introduced the understanding of law in the training system I created called Eclecticon. Eclecticon is a blended style system. So it blends these different systems together, and then it blends it with American law, because we normally in the United States, we are affected by the law right after we are affected by criminal incursions, whether it's over our property or whether it's over our person. The next thing you're gonna have to deal with is the law. So anytime we're gonna learn about how to defend ourselves, our family, our community, or our property, we must also understand the laws that apply so that we can create the best possible outcome, so we can manage that threat. So that's why I call it threat management. Preventive threat management means we're trying to prevent threats and manage them properly. And we do that by understanding psychology, law, and skill in that order. So the objective is to empower each person with the ability to create the best possible outcome. And that requires education and training. So the system is what actually makes the difference. But the system also deals with a philosophy. That philosophy is based on love of humanity and the idea that we should be interested in preserving life. If we're interested in preserving life, remember that life is more important than laws, and that people's lives are more important than property. We can also remember that protection is not prosecution. In fact, prosecution is proof that there was a lack of protection. So in 1994, after that event, I started protecting buildings. I went to the building owners and I said, we need to create safety for your community, for the people who live in your in your buildings that you own. I'm talking to a very wealthy man that owns 17-story buildings, high rises in Detroit. And what I found was he was not interested in safety. He was just not interested. He was interested in one thing, profit. So when I said, hey, let's protect the families from these home invasions and murders that took place every month, he said, I'm not interested. Thanks for checking. He was literally not interested. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, why would you not be interested in helping the people making you wealthy? He said, what is it you think you can do that the Detroit Police Department cannot do in 20 years? I've owned the buildings for 20 years, and you think you can do something that they can't do? How could one person make a difference? How could your actions do something that would help me prosper? He had 30% occupancy. I stopped all the home invasions and murders right after he said yes and gave me the right to protect his buildings. He hired me as his security. He gave me 6 months. And I told him that give me 6 months and let's not have that $70,000 loss you're having every time someone gets shot once a month. And that's what happened. I actually dollarized how much his losses were. And that's what made him consider hiring me to provide him with protective services. So it was not because he thought he should have security. He didn't believe in it. He believed that there was a possibility that maybe I could create prosperity for him. And what I was able to prove to him was, and to most importantly to the families, that their protection creates prosperity for everyone. There's a direct correlation between protection and prosperity, directly. When you have a safe environment, the families have a good place to live, a good quality of life. The businesses in the area, they prosper because they have more clients. The person who owns the building becomes richer. So essentially, helping people stay alive and safe makes rich people richer. And they like that. So my job was to do that, but my purpose was to make sure the families lived a safer life. His purpose was to make sure he prospered. We met in the middle by making sure that there's a direct correlation between our actions, which do not have negative effects, such as lawsuits from using force when you shouldn't be, right? So it doesn't matter if you created a safer environment, but you violated people's rights and you were inappropriate towards people and you made them feel disrespected or you disrespected their rights, that would be inappropriate. So you have to create an appropriate environment, which means non-violent, non-aggressive, and you have to create a condition where the outcome is directly related to the income, because in real life, all performance-related actions are. Outcome is related to income. So if your outcomes are negative, your income is going to be negative. So I had to create a prosperous situation in order to have a prosperous outcome for myself and for others. And it turns out we can do that. We do that by preventing violence, not by prosecuting it. So if we focus on prosecution, we literally engage in the path of a lack of prosperity, of poverty. Prosecution leads to poverty for everyone, eventually. It's only through prevention that we can create a positive environment for everyone. And so that's what we really focus on with threat management. How do we do that? We do that through education. So we don't do that through force and violence. We show people how to create safety for themselves, their family, their community, their corporation, by understanding psychology, understanding laws, understanding skills, and how that is used to create a non-violent outcome. An example of that, who's familiar with firearms? Firearms training. Need a volunteer to come up. Need a volunteer. Sir? So what we deal with is a science of psychology and biomechanics, which gives us the advantages that we need in order to create safety. So I have two facsimile firearms here. I want to show a drill. Sir, take that, please. And what we're going to do is, a lot of us have seen these videos where someone says, "Show me your hands." The other person shows their hands. Let's see. We're going to go over right now an example of why firearms are very difficult to use under stressful conditions. Point the gun at me, please. Yep, point the gun at me. And what I want you to do is say, "Show me your hands." Show me your hands. And when I show you a gun, I want you to shoot. And if I don't show you a gun, I don't want you to shoot. Okay? All right. Say, "Show me." Yeah. Say, "Show me your hands." Show me your hands. Okay. All right. Let's try again. All right. One more time. This is a nice guy. He wants to be nice. Okay. This time you're a shooter. Yes. Good job. Good position. All right. So if I pull out a gun, you're going to shoot. Ready? Show me your hands. Okay. So he's not slow. He's not slow. And I'm not using speed techniques. This is just human reaction time. It takes him 2,000 of a second to see the gun and then respond. So the reality is when you see that someone is shot after they said, "Show me your hands," or "Don't move," they still are going to get shot because it takes 2,000 of a second for him to see the weapon move on my end. And for me to shoot, it only takes 1,000 of a second. So scientifically, we're talking about biomechanics. There's no way he can respond faster unless he was going to shoot me anyway. Let's try again. Try really fast. Try to be really fast. Distance makes it harder. Okay. Oh, that was faster. I anticipated. Yes, okay, same thing. Let's try one more time. Show me your hands. Oh, good control. Same thing. Say, "Don't move." Don't move. So 9 times out of 10, we're going to see that response unless he underreacts and decides, "I'm not going to shoot." But in real life, once the person believes they're going to shoot, we'll see what's going to happen, which is you're going to shoot someone who has no gun, even though they show their hands. So the reality is that being gun dependent, believing the gun is a solution is really a problem. Even though I'm a firearms instructor certified by the NRA, for 20 years I taught firearms courses. I was certified for 5 disciplines. Thank you, sir. I can tell you that the firearm is a very limited object. And what we want to do is make sure that through your training, you're not gun dependent. You're competent to manage threats because you understand psychology, you understand law and skills. Mike, can you come up, please? So to show you some of the basic ways that we teach people how to keep themselves and their family safe is by understanding the mechanics that are involved. There's only 3 things that we teach. Fighting is not one of them. We don't teach fighting. We teach you to escape, control, or immobilize threat. And that's within 3 moves or less. So if someone grabs my wrist, What we show you how to do, instead of trying to fight this guy or strike this person and hope that these kicks or punches work, we're going to teach you biomechanics, which is to know that no matter how strong the person is, when you go over the thumb has no muscle groups on top, so you'll be able to get free, even if the person is much stronger than you. If the person tries to grab you, even with two hands, he grabs two hands, I grab my own hand, because the way the thumbs are made on humans, you can get free just like that. So a lot of people would be alive right now if they could keep themselves from being dragged away. Another example of what we teach is the second level of force, which is to control someone. So escaping, then controlling. Turning over, coming here, gives you control over the entire person. There's literally nothing they can do. And it's not about whether they feel the pain or not. It's locking the wrist in such a way the body goes under your control. So a person could grab you when you're walking away. Sir, you can turn and take them under your control, just like that. If it's more serious, such as they have a weapon on the other hand or multiple aggressors, instead of using a technique that escapes or controls, you'd come here, break free, and take from them the ability to breathe. That's temporary. They don't die from that, but they will go to the ground. So you have very simple ways of solving issues. And when it's more serious, such as a firearm, point here, head please. He's going to shoot if I move. Good. Cock again, please. From here, you have control. Even if it's to the side of the head, same thing. He's going to shoot if I move. Yep, cock it again, please. There's our shot. And you're in control of the weapon. Everything we teach you puts you in control within 3 moves or less. There's no jumping around, because in real life, you don't have a lot of time. So you have to bring things to closure very quickly. Thank you, Mike. And so our techniques is really what makes us successful and what makes you successful. We have lots of families, lots of people that have come back to us over the past 25 years, showing and telling stories about how the techniques saved their lives. And what we're most proud of is the ones that people can share with us that shows us that you can use the techniques not to injure and kill people. And that's what we really focus on, how not to injure and kill people. We can say, I don't want to hurt someone, but without proper training, it is inevitable that someone can be severely injured and killed in avoidable circumstances. And from there is no real way to prosper from violence. So what we teach is how to create that. And that's what we're doing now with our schools. We're expanding, and our objective is to bring those to other communities and other states. We've had people coming from other countries, other states, throughout the United States coming to train with us to learn how to take it back to their communities. Because what we're going to be doing over the next couple of years and continue to expand is opening facilities, franchise opportunities for people that are interested in expanding with us to make the world a safer place through nonviolence, by showing that there's a direct correlation between peace, protection, and prosperity. And these things are real. These are happening now. So this is solutions, not something we're theoretically thinking about. When there was a problem with hijackings in Detroit of cigarettes, starting in 1998, we stopped those hijackings. Right now, there are no hijackings because we stopped them. They were happening for many years. There were task forces set up to stop these hijackings. The hijackings were not stopped in 20, 30 years. Apparently, the mafia has been doing hijackings of cigarette trucks for many years. We stop them because we create conditions where the violent criminals do not believe that they can actually aggress and take the cigarettes from the trucks. So it's not about physicality, because in our 20 years of protecting cigarette trucks, we have not had a single fight, not a single argument, and that's all over Detroit. So one of the things that people focus on is the idea that it's the force and violence that creates safety, and that's completely not true. So you create safety by having the training to not create violence. So anti-kill is our philosophy, how not to kill people, specifically a philosophy that says there's always a way to save lives under all conditions. Once you believe that, you then have a pathway, subconsciously, psychologically driven, that shows you, I need to address this issue and try not to harm this person. Then what we do is match that with actual skill set. So now you understand psychology, laws, and the physical skills to create that outcome you're looking for. So you can actually create a nonviolent outcome, but you can't create it without skill set. Competence is the key to true confidence. So when someone says to you, don't be violent, or you say, don't be violent to an employee or to anyone, you say, hey, let's go be helpful but not be violent. How could you not be violent once you're in fear? If you can't manage fear, you will be violent. It's inevitable. So the training, that's why we call it threat management, gets rid of fearlosophy, the philosophy of fear. A lot of people live by the philosophy of fear, the belief that there's always a reason to fear. Something, you should always fear something. And from that fear, we're going to dictate a course of action. The course of action in fear is never good. Every one of us is responsible for our safety and the safety of our family and our communities, our corporations. And that can be done best and most prosperously through nonviolence. So if you want to think about a reason why you should invest in training that protects you nonviolently, remember, even if you don't want to do it because you're a good person or want to do good things, do it for prosperity, because there is no prosperity in violence for anyone. What happens after injuries and deaths that are avoidable are incredible losses in finance and money for corporations, communities, and individuals. So once again, this training system is what empowers you to create that which you want, which is a life that's freedom-based. We cannot have freedom if we cannot control ourselves and create freedom for ourselves. No one brings that to us. We are the people that create the freedom. We create the freedom for ourselves, our families, our communities, our corporations, and we do that by focusing on how not to create the negative outcomes from interactions. So we cannot have freedom through violence. We cannot have freedom through aggression. We can have it by thinking of how to create it and then training to create those outcomes. So specifically, that's what our program does for you. It literally gives you, empowers you with the ability to create the positive change you're looking for. And that's the bridge. So if I want to open a private community in another country, if I want to do seasteading, if I want to protect my community right here in this country, or if I want to do it back in the United States, I can create that positive environment by having the training and the knowledge and the philosophy to carry that forward in a nonviolent way. So our objective is to empower you with that actual ability. And again, this is something we've done for 25 years, so it's not theory. Right now we're protecting extremely wealthy communities that are surrounded by environments that are what they call at risk, and we protect both. We protect poor people that don't have any money. We protect them for free. We volunteer to protect domestic violence victims, stalking victims, and murder witnesses whose lives are in direct danger. We've done that for 20 years. Not one victim has been injured or killed after coming to us for assistance. That's what we're most proud of. 6 of our staff members have been shot, 1 female, 5 men. All of our team members are alive because we stabilize our wounded and transport to level 1 trauma hospitals. So I tell you that because this is real. You know, a lot of times people have great ideas, and that's good, but we actually put it into work. So we can actually show you what we use today. Right now, while I'm here, my team members are back in Detroit protecting families, protecting communities, making sure that corporations stay able to deliver their goods and keep their employees safe without violence. So the concept that we must be more violent or have more weapons or incarcerate people for safety, all of that is false. A lady said to me one day when I was driving through a neighborhood protecting her, she said to me, she goes, well, you guys don't do anything. I said, what do you mean, ma'am? She goes, I don't see you guys do anything, you just drive around. I don't hear about you guys arresting anybody. I said, ma'am, have you heard of anyone being raped, robbed, or killed since the day we started 4 years ago in your community? And she thought about it for a minute and she went, oh no, I didn't think of it that way. I never realized, yeah, no, nothing's happened. I said, exactly. That's our metrics. Nothing happens. I said, understand that you've given we have, as a society, we've given a negative metrics to law enforcement. We said, hey, where are your arrests for this? Where are your arrests for that? And then we say, oh, look at the crime rate. Then we look at the property value go down. And then we say, why don't people want to invest in here? Because we produced a lot of arrests, incarcerations, prosecutions, which is proof that there is not a good, viable environment here. What we want to do is the opposite, create an environment that's conducive for families, a good quality of life, which means you don't arrest violent criminals. One of the things that we do when we have people that we work in public streets, not just private communities. So in public streets, that means at 3 o'clock in the morning, a guy can come down the street with a hoodie on, which used to happen more often, like as in all night long. And instead of saying, you can't be in our community, get away from here, we go talk to them and say, hi, young man, how are you today? And then, have the hoodie on, 3 in the morning, hiding their face. Is everything okay? And they're like, yes. I said, well, you know what, young man? You want to be careful because there's criminals out here. They might try to rob you. You're in all black. People can't even see you really well, so I wouldn't want a criminal to, come across you and start robbing you. So what we're going to do is we're going to be right behind you, make sure nobody robs you. And he says, oh, no, okay, great. Feel safer already. Well, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just, I'm jogging. I go to Wayne State University and I'm just jogging. I said, well, great. When you jog here, it's like being the president of the United States. You will have someone with you the whole time. And it's totally free. It's totally free. You don't pay for anything. You get free bodyguard services. And he's like, oh, really? Oh, great. Then I said, well, guess what, young man? We've got one more option for you. We have the ability to put you into the good person file. He's like, what? What's that? The good person file. Let's say the police think you did something wrong. We can prove to them that you didn't, because we're going to have your information in the good person file. Would you like to be in the good person file? And he's like, oh, what would a good person do right now? Yes, I would like to be in the good person file. Well, great. If you'd like to give me your ID, we can put you right in there. Okay. Here's somebody's ID. Kind of looks like me. This is me. Click. Take it. Yes, sir. That almost looks like you. Whoever you just robbed to get that ID, but that's okay. Just, no, I don't want to see your hands. Don't show me your hands. I'm just going to be behind you, making sure you and your hands are safe everywhere you go. And then the guy leaves. You think he ever came back for free bodyguard services while running at 3 o'clock in the morning in the dark with all black on? No, he never came back for his free bodyguard services. It turns out that some people don't like to be protected while out in the middle of the night. So we didn't have to violate his rights. We didn't have to yell at him. We didn't have to, ask what he's doing. I never asked a single question, except, do you want to be in a file? Which he has the option to opt in or out of. He has to consent. And we do not transport. We do not take people into custody. We do not do any of those things without consent. We ask them, would you like to go to the police station? Or wait here for the police. People have done crimes. We say, instead of saying, come with us, just wait right here. Police will talk to you in a minute. And then say, you know what? Would you like to go to the police station? If they say no, we'll stay right here. You don't need to, there's no force and violence concepts that are associated. 99% of the time, you can just talk to people, even people who've done crimes, and you don't have to be violent towards them. You can literally talk to them. And I took a home invader. One of the homeowners association members actually said to me, he said, we don't believe we should have to pay for private security. We have the police department across the street, so I don't see why I should pay you. I said, well, that's fine. A month later, he calls up. He goes, I can't believe I have to call you. I just can't believe this. This is ridiculous. I said, what's going on, sir? He goes, well, the guy just came out of my house. I'm following him right now. And I want you to come get him. I said, well, what do you mean come get him? He goes, I'm following him. The police won't come. They said that because he left the house, because he has nothing in his hands, they're not going to send anyone. He's also mobile. And it turns out in Detroit, if you're mobile, they don't send a car to a mobile threat. Don't ask me how that makes sense. I just had this conversation literally last week. They will not send. So if you're following someone who did a crime and they're walking down the street out of your house, they're not going to send someone. So I go there. I talk to the young man. Gives me a great story of why he was in this guy's house, all on video. We video record everything openly like this. And when they ask us why we're video recording, we say the same thing. We say it's for professionalism, to show that we are treating you with respect, to show that we're being professional towards you and we're not disrespecting you in any way. And then usually they'll say something like, well, it's not for, you're not trying to build a case against me or something. No, we're not, because you're not doing anything wrong anyway. This is just to show that we're being professional. And they're like, oh, okay, it's fine. But it works, because what happens is it gives them a way out of feeling like they can respond aggressively and then run away. They don't even have to run, because we're being cordial, they're being cordial. And right now what they're trying to do is manipulate the camera. In this case, the guy's talking to me and he says, the bottom line is I was in the backyard and in this girl's house. I don't know her name. I was just trying to see her from the gas station. He's a crazy story. I was like, well, probably should know the girl's name before you go in the back of her house in the future. Just going to advise you that. It's probably just a good idea. People kind of get upset if you don't know, their name and you go in their house. Should probably just wait. Let me get home. And probably go to the front door. He's like, you're right. I said, and so the homeowner still wants the police to come. The police aren't coming. So I say to the young man, listen, young man, here's the thing. If you just go back and apologize to the homeowner, I will give you a ride to wherever you want to go down the street, as long as you promise not to come back. He was like, seriously? I was like, yes, seriously. He's like, come on, let's go. So he goes to apologize to the homeowner. He just home invaded the homeowner. There's no way for them, you can't make them arrest this individual. And the homeowner was upset about that, but he did go back and apologize to the homeowner, and he never came back. And that was 8 years ago. So the reality is, that you can create positives even from extremely negative conditions. That individual was scared out of the homeowner's house. He didn't take anything. He literally just got inside, and the homeowner let a dog go, and the individual was scared out of the back. He was like 15 years old. So the reality is that when we think about force and violence, it's imperative to remember not to use it unless we have to. And what our training does is makes it so you can stay calm and create a peaceful outcome, and a peaceful outcome is a prosperous outcome. And essentially what this does is empowers every one of us with the ability to maintain our own freedom, so no one can take that from us. No violent person can come up and tell you what you're going to do and what you're not going to do unless you let them. And you're not letting them because you have to. You're letting them because you've decided to. Give them your wallet or give them your car or whatever you decided. And if you decide not to, we make sure you have the intelligent options to resist by understanding psychology, understanding laws, and understanding the skills required to dominate that threat, and to do it using the least amount of violence possible. So does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. The Detroit Police Force is very positive towards us, and the reason why they're so positive is because at the end of the day, their crime rates went down drastically wherever we go. So very positive interaction. Yes, sir. Are you guys armed? We're armed with only non-lethal weapons, only non-lethals, as of 2 years ago when we finally stopped. And it's just because we didn't need firearms actually at all. Yes, sir.
So in that shooting example that you did earlier, if you fired faster than he fired, is he still getting a shot off in that situation?
He might. And the important thing to remember about guns is that firearms do not stop people in real life. Like I told you, 6 of our team members have been shot. None of them are dead. But one of my guys was shot 7 times. He's alive. But I'm from a suburban town called Ann Arbor where the University of Michigan is. And where I grew up, I thought if you got shot, that's it. In real life, remember that hypovolemic shock is what kills people, not getting shot. So it's losing a lot of blood. If you don't have blood, that's how you end up dying, not from actually being shot. So that's why being gun dependent is also counterproductive. A lot of people shot an actual criminal, and that criminal then came, took their gun, and shot them. That's why we teach weapon retention. So if you do have a weapon, we show you how to make sure criminals can't take it from you. And that's part of your training, core training as well. So psychology, law, and skill in that order, but also understanding ballistics, so you understand what your guns can and cannot do for you, and so that you do not think something that's inappropriate, like if I shot this criminal coming to kill me, that I would then somehow be fine. That may not be true, and many people have perished after they shot the criminals. So what we do is make sure that you ballistically understand the limitations of your weapons as well, but we really emphasize how to understand how to dominate that threat physically, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female or bigger than the person or smaller than the person, because the skills take into account, they use biomechanics, not physicality. Yes, sir. We are expanding. Right now, the only locations we have are in Detroit, but we are expanding, and we're looking for people that also want to expand with us and open franchises in their communities. We have several people, some on the East Coast, some on the West Coast. We've even had people from Nigeria and New Zealand contact us because they want threat management centers in their communities. So we are currently expanding, which is why we're here this year, looking for people that actually want to expand with us. Okay, thank you very much.